Hey everybody, Sensei Randy here. Welcome back to another episode of 40 Plus Fitness, and really good stuff today. Want to share with you for our workout segment today. One of my favorites, right up my alley. We're going to do a hand pad workout. Fortunate enough to have one of my students that was hanging around with me, and I dragged him out on the floor and did a little workout with him. We're going to walk you through basic boxing workout, martial arts workout, how to use hand pads, different types of punches, kicks, and how to put routines together to get a good workout using some hand pads today. And do it in a way that you're going to protect yourself, both if you're holding the pads and if you're doing the punching and kicking. You can actually get a great workout on both sides of those drills, which is awesome. For our next segment, we have Kate back, Kate Cretsinger back. She's the nutritionist we spoke to in our last episode. And in today's episode, she's actually going to hit upon something really, really critical, and that is how to read labels on foods that you're purchasing. So many things today that we think of as, healthy foods. When you dig into the labels, you start to find out that they're not actually as healthy as we think. And there's a tremendous amount of marketing that goes into health foods nowadays, and it's a huge business. They spend a lot of extra money. If you think about it, if you're buying a bottle of water, sometimes you're spending more than buying a bottle of soda. And if logically it doesn't make sense, you would think water's a lot easier to bottle, there's a lot less ingredients. The reason it's more expensive is because people will pay that money for that water. So there's a tremendous amount of marketing that goes into healthy and nutritious foods. But when you start digging into the foods, you find that they're not always as healthy as we think they are. So she's going to give you a breakdown how to read a label and be able to determine if a food is actually good for you or if it's something that you need to keep your eye on, and maybe even give you some options for how to find better alternatives. All right? And last but not least, in our recovery segment today, we're going to take a little road trip. We're going to learn about a technique called cryogenics, and phenomenal cutting edge technology. It's being used by a lot of the professional sports teams, and we're going to tell you all about it, and we're actually going to walk you through. One of the sponsors of our show is actually going to help you and show you what's actually involved. So really excited for today's show. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you get a lot out of it. Let's go. Hey everybody, Sensei Randy here. Welcome back to 40 Plus Fitness. And today we're going to do one of my personal favorite workouts. As you know, being a martial artist, I love doing workouts, the heavy bags, the shields. Today we're going to do some pad work. And pad work I think is great. You can combine a lot of your cardio, you can do some strength training, lots of conditioning, a whole bunch of different things you can build into these routines. They're really flexible, they're really variable. I can change if I'm doing legs, I can add in squats, I can add in jumps, all kinds of cool stuff we can add in. Only equipment we need, these pads, these are called focus bits or focus pads. A couple different ones you can get. This one here that we have, just a basic plain square. It's got straps on the back, you slide your hand in, grab a hold. Just a real basic hand pad. You can get them, again, anywhere online, any of the, usually the sports stores have them, martial arts supply places, of course, always have them. So easy to find here. Today we're going to be using these focus pads. These are what we use at the karate school. These are from the Hyper program, our Hyper Fight Club. The reason we're going to use these today is I like these a lot. A little bit of a bend on the front of the pad so that as the punches come in, it comes in nice and solid as you're doing your kicks, and you're getting your kicks up higher or you're getting your snap up. Gives you more of an arch in the pad to hold it. On the back, it's got the strap, holds tight to your wrist, and you can't see it, but inside of the mitt there's actually a flexible ball that your fingers wrap around. Gives you more padding when the person's hitting or kicking and they're getting off a good solid shot. And it keeps it from coming flying off. Sometimes with some of the pads, when people kick them, if there's nothing inside there, they just kind of slide out and go flying. This gives you something to actually wrap your hand around. The other cool thing is because my hand is in there in a cup shape, as they strike it, it takes a lot of the impact off of my hands. Now, first thing we're going to do is, if you're working with somebody and you're going to be holding the pads, there's a few things you got to be focused on. You can get a really good workout holding the pads in addition to doing the punches and kicks. When you hold the pads, a few things to remember. I want to keep my pads away from my face. I don't want somebody accidentally crushing me in the face because I'm holding the pads too close to my face. The other thing is, I want to make sure my elbow is bent and my shoulder is extended. So I'm not standing back here like this with my hands way out to the side, giving the person a target to hit at. I'm going to be in more of a fighting stance. For self-defense reasons, it gives the person a more realistic target that they're punching at. We always try to cross when we do the pads so that we're actually coming across the body, striking to the targets. The other thing we want to do is, I don't want to keep it static. I'm not going to just hold the pads up and let them punch it or kick it. I'm actually going to move my shoulder toward the striking point. So as they strike, I'm actually going to move into that strike and I'm going to catch it. Two things that does. Number one, it makes sure that my shoulder is engaged. So as I'm pushing in, there's actually force coming against it. That actually is going to protect my shoulder. If I'm standing here and something's just banging against my shoulder, I have the risk of hyperextending my shoulder or hurting my shoulder. The other thing it's going to do is it's going to give them a little bit more of a force that they're striking against. So I have one of my SWAT teamers in today who's going to come out here and help me. Matthew, can you come on up? So Matthew's going to help me demonstrate some of the workout stuff that we can do. We're going to mix it up a whole bunch of different ways. So he's going to be here. Just a couple things to go through first. We're going to work basic punches. So we'll start upper body, just getting our conditioning going. So hands are up from here, just a basic jab cross. Jab, my front hand's going to come out straight. My cross, my back hand comes across. Notice as he does his jab, hand is straight up and down, he extends it out. As he comes through with that cross, he actually turns it over, turns his hip, and gets a nice extension through it. Matthew's on one of my tournament teams, does really well in the sparring, so he's really good with these drills. So one more time, we're going to come up, jab cross, ready, go. Nice, coming out, go. Excellent, and go. Awesome. So just basic punches. Our uppercuts are going to come up underneath, driving our hand up. So as he does an uppercut, coming straight from his hip, pushing all the way through right into that. Notice as I hold the pads for him, I'm going to turn the pad, point the pad straight down so he has a nice solid surface. Also, we can work hooks. Hooks coming from the side. Same thing, getting his tabletop flat. He's coming right over the top. If we're sparring and I'm here, he's coming right over the top of my guard into my target here. All right, so to mix them up, we can do our jab, we can do a cross, we can do an uppercut, we can do a hook, and then we can mix them up. Some of the games we like to play, some of the focus things we do with these, we'll give each one a number, for example. So your jab is your 1, your cross is your 2, your uppercut is your 3, your hook is your 4, and I'll do, say, 2. And he's going to throw that cross. And then I'll do 3, and he's going to do the uppercut. Then I'll say 1, and he's going to jab. And then I'm going to say 4, and he's going to hook. And we'll mix them up, and we can even combine them. We can do like 2, 4, 1, 3, and have them mix those punches up. Again, just another way to keep varying the workout, varying the interest, keep the intensity going. So another thing we can add to it, we can get our lower body involved a little bit. We can start doing some ducking and sliding. So when we duck, I'm going to be here, my hand is going to come out. Notice he's going to come right underneath, he's going to dip his legs and come right under. Right? As he dips, he does this perfectly. He comes up, look at his eyes, they're staring straight at me, watching me all the way through. He's not bending his head down, making a nice easy target for me. He's keeping his head up, he's moving his hips, moving his knees, getting those legs nice and engaged. So basic drill we could put together, for example, if we wanted to work it, we could do just a jab cross, duck, and then come back with a cross. So to be jab, cross, he's going to duck, he's going to come up with the cross. So we'll do this a couple times. So ready, go. 1, 2, duck, boom. Good, ready, go. 1, 2, duck, boom. All right, one more time, go. 1, 2, duck, boom. Nicely done. All right, and again, we can vary the intensity, we can vary the speed, we can swap back and forth. When I've had training partners that I've worked with, we'd do 1 minute on, 30 seconds we'd switch. So I'm holding the pads for the first minute, We take a 30-second break to catch our breath and to swap pads, and then the other person goes, and you can go back and forth that way. You can do round after round. You can do 4 or 5 rounds, 1 2-minute rounds, and then swap it up, and then switch sides. Again, remember, since I'm actually engaging with each punch as well, I'm getting a little bit of workout. My muscles are keeping moving as we go. Next thing we can do, we can bring those legs in. So, whole bunch of different kicks. Basic kicks, instep kick, just bringing your knee up. You can do back leg. Coming up nice and strong, so he's going to point his toes down. He's hitting with the top of his foot, coming up, striking right through. Awesome job, dentistry. All right, so we're going to snap it, get it, go. Oh, nice and strong, go. Excellent. One more time, go. Nice. Now notice he's keeping his hands up, so his hands are nice and high. He's nice and strong. He's trying not to key-eye too loud because he doesn't want to interrupt us with the show. But he's actually breathing. I can see his lips moving. I know he's breathing as he strikes. So he's coming out. Couple more. Boom. There it is. Nice and solid. Ready to go. Excellent. Now notice I'm pushing down against that kick as it comes up. So I'm also engaging my chest, my shoulder, my arms, everything on the way through. We can also switch it up and go front leg. So he's going to pick his front leg up. Boom. Nice straight up front leg kick. Coming up. Go. Excellent. Another kick that's great to build into the drills is our roundhouse kick. Roundhouse kick is going to come from the floor. He's going to pivot his front foot. From there, he's going to bring his knee up. He's going to point his toes. He's going to get a nice kick right into the pad. So from here, we'll put it all together. Just do it nice and solid. Ready? Go. Excellent. And go. Awesome. One more time. Bring it up. Go. Outstanding. Now notice, he's got his hands up. He comes all the way around with that kick. He chambers it on the way back. And I'm holding it about my chin level, which is actually just over his head. So he's got some nice high kicks going. We can vary the height. We can bring it down lower, go into the ribs, bring it up to his chin, letting him snap those kicks out. The cool thing, especially for martial artists, if you're doing something like a sport martial art, for example, these pads allow you to vary the target as well. So I can change the height, I can change the intensity, I can change how far back or forward it is, and this allows him to actually get his focus so he's actually hitting the target where he needs to. Right? You can have the most amazing kicks in the world, but if you can't hit your target, it doesn't do you any good. We tell a lot of the kids that have like the really high kicks that love to throw them way up over the head of the person they're working with. The problem is if you fly over the person's head, it doesn't help you if you're trying to defend yourself, right? You want to get your target. So we got our instep kicks, we got roundhouse kicks, we can go toes up with front ball kicks, we can do regular crescent kicks coming to the side, so just a straight crescent kick coming that way. We can do reverse crescent kicks coming the opposite direction. You got hook kicks, we can add spinning kicks, all kinds of moves you can do. All of these are going to work off the same premise. Now, from here, we can also put a few moves together. So what I like to do is I like to mix them up. Let's say we start with a 4-step combination. We're just going to do an instep kick, jab, cross, and into a roundhouse kick. All right? So from here, we're going to do our instep kick. We come up, we go jab, cross, roundhouse kick. So if I'm holding the pads, I'm here. I come up, jab, cross, turn it, let them come in and get that roundhouse kick. So one more time, we come up, instep, jab, cross, roundhouse kick, all the way through, okay? So we'll do this, we'll mix them up. We'll have him switch feet so he can go the other way. Switching his feet, I'm gonna switch my feet as well so I keep the same stance. And same thing, instep, jab, cross, roundhouse kick, all right? If I'm holding pads, I also have to be conscious of how long his kicks are and how long his punches are. So for example, in this combination where he comes through, he's coming backwards, jab, cross. When he does that roundhouse kick, he's being nice to me. He's sliding back a little bit. But if he's really going to be throwing this kick, I'm here. He's going to come up, 1, 2. I got to come back and move my body back, shifting on my hips, getting him space so that he can get that full extension. So we can work it that way as well. All right. Now, if we really want to throw some heavyweight stuff in, we can shorten it up. Short game, roundhouse elbows, downward elbows, rising elbows. So for example, just a roundhouse elbow coming around, boom, into the pad, coming out, go. Oh, nice and strong. We can mix it up, jab cross with our roundhouse elbows. Other thing we can work on these are our knees, all right? Most basic knee we're going to work is going to be our rising knee. He's going to come from the back knee, all right? Now for me, holding the pads, knees are really strong. You're going to be able to generate a lot of power. Plus, you want to be able to grab your hands and pull your opponent down into you. We're going to simulate that using the pads this way. I'm going to take both of my pads. I'm going to cross them over this way. So when I say knee, I'm going to put my hands down. He's going to grab it with his hands. He's going to drive his knee up. So one more time. We're here. I cross. Awesome. One more time. Ready? Go. Excellent. Now, we can add another element to this by switching our feet. Here, we can add a little more cardio to it. We can start bouncing, similar to if we are going to be in a competition, or if we're actually having to defend ourselves, we want to fight. So we can get up on our toes. As we're on our toes, we can hear jab cross. Boom, boom. He steps in, stay and bounce on his feet. Go. Boom. Throw that roundhouse kick. Come up. Boom. All right. He also added in a jump. Start getting those legs moving. All right. Finally, we can add motion. So instead of standing in one spot, as we're going, I'm going to be able to move. I'm going to move, jab cross. Boom. I'm going to come out. Ready, go. Hook. All right. So we can add actual motion around in a circle on the floor, make it a little more of a realistic fight experience, and at the same time get a little better workout for both him and for the person holding the pads. So as you can see, I'm a huge fan of these. Of course, I own a martial arts school. Why wouldn't I be, right? But great way to work out. Think about it. If you look at your fighters, most fit guys on the planet, you got all your fighters, your boxers, all of your MMA fighters. The shape and the conditioning that they're in is phenomenal, and they all do a lot of this pad work. So hopefully you enjoyed today's episode. We're able to get some stuff out of this. You have some options for doing some of your workouts at home now. Hey everybody, Sensei Randy here. Welcome to another episode of 40 Plus Fitness, and we're back here with Kate Cretsinger again. And thank you for coming, join us again today. And
thank you for having me.
You got some cool stuff here.
Yeah.
And I know we're talking about a subject that you actually educated me on the first time we met. And I'm still trying to figure out what I can snack on. But
yeah.
I'm sure you can help us out today. So
absolutely.
Tell us what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, so you kind of hit it on the nose there. We're going to be talking about how to read labels properly. In the last episode that I was in, we talked about inflammation and how carbs and sugar are the culprit of inflammation. And those are the things we need to look at when we're eating packaged foods. And so I picked out some things that everybody thinks are healthy. And you laughed, because I can say it because you shared it last time. Because we do. We think it's healthy just because of marketing. Marketing is amazing on what they do. And so I think it's awesome that we're now looking at these, because it was an eye-opener for you.
Yep.
Yeah. And I'm proud that you cut them out cold turkey. Most people can't do that. So I'm really excited for you. So we're going to just go over some of these things. Look how I'm going to share with you how to actually read a label. And I'll share with you how I do it. And so that way it'll help other people do the same. So when you're in the grocery store, you're looking for a quick snack. There's healthier options here, so I'll show you the real bad ones and I'll show you the healthier versions of them. So
perfect.
One of the good things I like to grab and go over first is quinoa, because I was a vegetarian for years up until not too long ago. Oh, I shouldn't even really say that, because I would have meat maybe a couple times a year, and it was only when my body craved it. It was the only time that I went for it. So I'm all about listening to your body. And I just don't like the texture. It's not because of what it is. But I always used to laugh, because I also call myself a carbitarian, because that's what we'd eat more of, not vegetables. And when we take meat out, most people reach for grains. They use grains as a filler because they get more filling, right?
Right.
But they're eating more often versus occasionally, because it's empty calories, basically, is what we're doing. And so if we look at the carbohydrate number, so I always tell people if they want to lose weight, they should keep it, and everybody's different in how this goes, so it's between 80 and 100 grams of carbs a day to lose weight. And then 100 to 150 is to maintain your weight, and 150 and above is to gain weight. Okay, so, and this is just carbs. This is not calories. So when you look at carbs, when you're looking at a label, and I know you're going to zoom in on these at another time. So when you're looking at the carbs here on a label, they're bold. So when we look underneath that, it has fiber and it has sugars as well, and they're not bold. Well, those two numbers are also included in the carbohydrates, just so you know. So it's all included. So this number of carbs includes sugar if there was sugar in there. Okay. So if we take a look at this package, it says a quarter cup dry of quinoa. There's no sugar. It says 0 sugar. So everyone thinks it's healthy. So I'm going to eat quinoa, and that's what people do. They eat quinoa.
I actually replaced my brown rice with quinoa.
You did. And brown rice is right up there too, right? So if we take and rice is a grain as well. So is quinoa. Most people are like, no, it's a seed. It's a seed of a grain, so it's still a grain. Just people got to clarify that too. So if we look at the dietary fiber, it's 4 grams. Okay, and then we look at the total carbohydrate, it's 33. So if you take that fiber, the 4 grams of fiber, and you subtract it from the carbohydrates, because fiber negates the carbs from turning to sugar. So the higher the fiber, the better. It's basically a good thing. It doesn't mean go out and buy fiber, it's a different kind of fiber.
But the fiber in the grain.
Yes, yep, so the higher the fiber, the better. So 4 minus 33 is 29.
So you think you're being healthy by eating the quinoa, and you're actually taking what breaks down into sugars.
Yeah, and if you're trying to lose weight and you're only at 80 grams of carbs that you're supposed to have, you just had almost half, right?
In a
it's
serving.
A third, we'll say a third. Yeah, in a serving, and this is a quarter cup dry.
So nobody's eating.
No, if you cook up a quarter cup dry, it's probably about a cup. Who eats just a cup of quinoa, right? So if you think about it that way, you know, you're like, okay, I'd rather put my carbs somewhere else so I can eat more than something small like this, because then you're going to really be hungry. You're going to be starving if you do that, right? So this isn't a good option, right? So I always like picking that first, because a lot of people are like, well, I eat quinoa. Quinoa is supposed to be healthy. It's a superfood. It's super grains, you know, that kind of thing. It's not healthy. It's not as healthy as we think it is, because it's higher in carbs. And those carbs turn to sugar. Those carbs spike your insulin. Wherever there's a spike in insulin, there's inflammation and weight gain, right?
Right. And that's where I got into trouble when we talked, was I thought I had this healthy snack. It was no sugar, and I'm thinking, oh, great, no sugar. And it was 18 grams of carbohydrates and no fiber. So I was taking 18 grams of sugar
per serving,
and my serving was
the whole bag, right?
Exactly, because I'd start off, when I first started eating them, I was, you know, oh, I'll have just one serving, but then my body started getting addicted, because I don't take in a lot of sugars otherwise. Yeah. So I started craving that sugar, and before I knew it, I couldn't put I'd put the bag away, and a minute later I'd take it back out.
Yeah.
And my body just got addicted to that sugar, and I would crush a whole bag while I was sitting at my desk at work in a couple hours.
Yeah. And that's why a lot of people, when they say they want to do the 80-20, like eat clean 80% of the time and 20% of the time they're going to have what they want. Well, that's what happens. Things creep back in and we become addicted to them. So there's no really good way to do an 80-20, because that 20 becomes 40, becomes 60, becomes 100%, right? So there's really no good way to do an 80-20 way of eating. But people like to think they can do that. We only have so much willpower, you know. One of the other things I like to bring out is chips, because everybody thinks chips are good because they're just potatoes. Okay, so let me back up just a little bit. I always tell people 5 or less ingredients, right? Make sure you can pronounce them. So this has 5 or less ingredients. So these are good: potatoes, avocado, and Himalayan salt. That's it. That's all it has in there, okay? So if you were one of my clients, to be like, yeah, this is really good. And it's got avocado oil in it, which is a really good oil to have. So
goes great with guacamole.
Yes, it does. Absolutely. So if you're looking about this one, this is 13 chips, okay? So if you only have, I don't know who eats just 13 chips, but we're going to say, let's say you're one of those people that can just have 13. And if we look at the carbohydrate number, it's 17. Dietary fiber is 1 and sugar is 0. So if we eat 13 chips, we're going to have 16 grams of carbs. So this is a healthier option than the quinoa, right? But you're still only, who eats just 17 chips? I don't know anyone that does. So usually it's the whole bag, and there's 4 servings in here. right? So if you've got 16 grams times that by 4, you're well over.
You're over half your 64 grams of sugar already.
Exactly. And so that's not going to be a good option, right? I want something that I'm going to be able to have other stuff throughout the day, you know? And so, you know, it's just endless here with the chips. So this one was 0, 2 fiber, 16 grams of carbs, you know? And this is 5 servings per container. So it's only 1 ounce. It doesn't give the amount of chips you're supposed to have, but I know 1 ounce is probably not going to be satisfying for most people.
Well, I'm looking at the size of the bag thinking, yeah,
and it's filled to here.
That's a ride home.
Yeah, right? And it's filled to here, so it's mostly air. One of the things that I like to show people too is sugar, right? So a lot of people will say, you know, I don't have sugar. I only use it in my baking. And I think that's great too, if you do that. People are like, but I use maple syrup because it's in its true form. Or I use honey because it's in its true form. And so if we look at the forms of sugar I brought today, I brought your normal white cane sugar, okay? So if we look at that, for this is 2 teaspoons, 8 grams of carbohydrates, 8 grams of sugar. So they're the same. So our carbs come from our sugar. So 8 grams, okay? And so for an adult male, you're supposed to have 30 grams a day of sugar. I'm supposed to have 25 grams of sugar a day. So 2 teaspoons in this, most people put a tablespoon in their coffee, maybe a tablespoon and a half, or in their tea that they drink, or whatever it is that they're having. So you're using them up pretty quick.
So you're a third of the way to your day just by having your morning coffee with a tablespoon of sugar.
Right, and then think about the quinoa that you're gonna eat, and then think about, you know, that fruit that you're gonna eat. Because our body doesn't differentiate from sugar to sugar to sugar. It has the same exact response. Because a lot of people are, well, I only eat fruit. Our body still reacts the same exact way.
It's funny, that was when I, years ago, was reading that everybody was like, oh, just have fruit in the morning. Just eat fruit in the morning. And you can have whatever you want. And then it started coming out, no, the fruit breaks down into sugars, which breaks down into acid, which it's the same thing. It doesn't differentiate between the two. And everyone thinks they're doing this great healthy thing, eating fruit. And it turns into sugar. We actually watch what we put into our protein drinks now because we were adding all this fruit in thinking, oh, well, we'll just put in fruit because it's healthy. No. So
a lot of people are like, well, we're eating, you know, according to our primal instinct. Well, if you think about that, they were travelers. They were always moving. It's not always, you know, available for them. And it wasn't available year round either, because some places have snow, like up here.
It's winter.
So we didn't have it year round like we're doing now. So, you know, we've got to take that into consideration too. It's very minimal what we're supposed to have. It's not every day, you know, it's occasionally, and occasionally isn't once a week. That's not occasional. That's still pretty consistent. Occasionally is like once every 3 or 4 months. You know, that's occasional. You know, so we got to think of how we're using these words. And so if we look at coconut sugar, which I prefer people to use because it's lower on the glycemic index, and the lower on the glycemic index, the less insulin you're putting out. So for 2 teaspoons of this, you're getting 4 grams of sugar versus 8 with the white sugar. So, and a lot of people don't realize that coconut sugar is in its truest form. They heat it up to get it here. So it's not any different than maple syrup. So maple syrup, it's heated to come out of, you know, when it comes out of the tree. Same with the coconut sugar. They don't realize, they think it goes through more chemical processes, and it's just heated up just like the maple syrup. So, and it's less glycemic on the lower glycemics, right? So that's 4 grams there. But if we look at maple syrup and we look at this is for 4 tablespoons. So if we just break it down to just in 4, let's see. This is small writing. I don't have a hard time saying this. So total sugars for this is 53 grams. So if we just divide that by 4, it's like we'll say right around 10 grams, right, per tablespoon.
12.
So, you know, look at the difference in that as well too. And yeah, when you're baking, it's a little different. You know, it's being spread out amongst, you know, the whole thing that you're baking.
Yeah, you might not be eating the whole...
You're not eating the whole serving. So I say, okay, if you're baking with it, still cut it in half. So if the recipe asks for a 1/4 cup, put 1/8 of a cup in, not a 1/4 cup. If it asks for a cup, put, you know, even less than half kind of thing. You know, like just try and get below a 1/2 cup of sugar in whatever it is that you're cooking. And the reason why they like maple syrup is because of the flavor it gives when it's baking, right? Well, brown sugar, coconut sugar does the same exact thing. It adds that little taste to it versus what the white sugar does. So go with the coconut sugar. It's a much healthier choice. And then we'll move on to milks, because that's another one. A lot of people don't want to do dairy anymore, which is great because the casein in the dairy reacts the same way as gluten does in the body. So it still causes that inflammatory response. So one of the things that people will do is unsweetened almond milk, right? So like I said in the beginning, my favorite thing is just to make sure that you have 5 ingredients or less and that you can pronounce them, right? So if we do this, there's so many. If I read the ingredients, there's over 12 in here, and some of them I can't even pronounce. So
that's your healthy option of switching to an almond milk.
Yeah. So because if we look at it, it's for 1 cup, which is a good size. You've got 2 carbs, right, and just 1 fiber. So you're really getting 1 carb, and that's the sugars that are in here, and that is because they put it in here. So you've got sugar in here. Right? But there is a healthier option. This one only has 3 ingredients: water, almonds, and salt. That's it. That's all you get in this. And it's got 1 gram of carb, and that is for a cup. So there are healthier options out there. And there's only 3 ingredients in this. There's nothing in here that is the thing is it goes bad fast, right? Because there's no shelf. There's
nothing to preserve it and
exactly.
keep it on
Yeah. So this will, within 7 days, if you don't drink it, you have to throw it out because it does bad, kind of thing. Whereas this will last for a while, probably a couple weeks. Yep. So that's just the trade-off that you're doing, but I think, I'd rather put this stuff in my body that takes less than a week than something that I don't know what it is.
Well, that's the thing. Once you take it into your body, how long is it going to take to break down?
Exactly. That's another good point. Absolutely.
If it has 3 ingredients, it's going to go bad in a couple days. That sounds a lot better than if I'm taking something into my body that's going to be around for a couple months.
Absolutely. Yeah. So there are definitely better alternatives instead of just going with the one that just because it says it's unsweetened and it's organic, that it's healthy. You have to read labels. You have to read them.
You just kicked another thing out of my diet.
I'm sorry. Well, you can go for this one. Go for this one.
We'll change it up a little bit.
There you go.
Thank you again.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad I can help. So and these are normal snack things, granola and, healthy bars, the nutrition bars that people go for.
So you guys that are just going to look at us and say, I'm not watching you anymore because I can't eat anymore. Just hang in there. We're getting there.
We are getting there. So if we take a look at these, here I like this one because this one is, it says it's school safe and that it doesn't have tree nuts in it. It's made with vegetables and what have you, right? So if we look, first thing is crisp brown rice, which is a grain, right? Then it's cane sugar syrup, sugar, chocolate chips, sugar, cacao mass, sugar, right? Vegetable glycerin, which is sugar, inulin, tapioca flour, cacao powder, everything is sugar, right? And then except for the bottom, the very last ingredient is vegetable extracts. So it's made with spinach, broccoli, carrots, tomatoes, beets, and shiitake mushrooms extract. It's not even in its true form.
So is that like after you run it through the juicer, the stuff you have left is what they put
Pretty much.
into the...
Pretty much. So if you look at these are, I want to say about 2 finger widths apart, and it's probably about this long. So it's really tiny, this long. And so to eat one of these is 15 grams of sugar. I know kids that won't even eat just one of these. They'd probably want more. I don't know if that's really satisfying. That doesn't sound satisfying to me. And then the same thing with when we take a look at granola, right? So if we're looking at granola, this is a 1/4 cup. Who eats a 1/4 cup? That's really tiny. That's less than a handful.
What you put in your hand.
Yeah. And it's supposed to be a little bit less than that because your hand is a cup. So if you do less than that, it would probably be just like a little pinch. It would be a 1/4 cup, right? That's exaggerating. I'm exaggerating. So if we look at that, a 1/4 cup, and if it's 8 carbs, 2 fiber. So if we subtract the 2 fiber from that, that's 6 carbs. And there's already 4 added. So that 6 includes the sugars that are already in there. So if you look at that, that's 6 grams in a 1/4 cup, right? When you can eat this chocolate bar, the whole chocolate bar for the same thing. And we'll get there for that. right?
Okay, good. So there is stuff
There
we
is
can
stuff
have.
you can have, yeah. And then obviously nuts, these are really good for us. And I brought this as just to show you it's a healthier alternative. I mean, if you even look at it here, the fibers are more, and the serving sizes is the same as this. So these would be a healthier alternative to your granola, and get mixed nuts. So you have different flavor, and it's the raw ones, not the roasted ones.
As I was showing you earlier, I have on the side of my floor where I teach, because I'm going for 4 hours at a shot, and so I'll have a bag of raw almonds on the side, and I can just pop 3 or 4 raw almonds, and it kind of takes the edge off.
Absolutely, it does. It satiates you, right? And then these bars, these bars are huge because everyone reaches for them. They think it's great. This one, well, we'll save that one for last, but this one right here, I love these. People think, oh, these are quick, they're fast, and because of the marketing, they're organic, and protein pleasure is what it's called, right? So if we look at this, the carbohydrates is 37, and if you subtract the dietary fiber is 2, there's 35 grams. That includes the 14 grams of sugar in the whole bar.
Wow.
Yeah. So really, in a sense, you're having 35 grams of sugar because those carbs turn to sugar.
And it's funny, at one point when I was training all the time, I would have my meal in the morning, and then I'd have protein bars. And somewhere along the way, I found these protein bars that were chocolate caramel protein bars. And I had myself convinced, well, they're protein bars. They're good for you.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at them, and then one day I looked, and there was more carbs than protein.
Yeah.
And now that I actually was educated on how to read the label, all of those carbs were sugar.
Yeah.
There was no fiber in this thing. So I was taking in a ton more sugar in my healthy meal alternative than and meanwhile, I'm eating all this really clean stuff, and I'm trying to figure out, well, what am I doing wrong? And
that's it.
it's because, I saw this bodybuilder on the front of this bar, and it said,
you want to look like him. Yeah. Yeah, that's so funny that and then when we look at it, there's a whole ton of stuff for the ingredients, right? So then most people will reach for this one, and this one only has dates, egg whites, almonds, cashews, blueberries, and natural flavors. Natural flavors, right? You want to stay away from anything that says natural flavors. It is nothing healthy for us. Let's just put it that way. And we could talk a whole time about that. So this one here is 4 fiber, 24 carbs. And then it's 20 grams of carbohydrates right here. And that is 15 grams of sugar. 15 of that is sugar. Wow. So you got to be careful of that stuff. And then, like I said, with the chocolates too, like this is a healthy alternative. A lot of people don't think of this. Most jerky out there does have bad stuff for you. This one only has 4 ingredients in it, and it's very little sugar. And it's only got, 2 grams of sugar in it. So this would be a healthier option for you with your raw nuts, right?
So there's stuff we can go out there and look for and find. So, and the
chocolate. And you want me to go? Okay, so the chocolate.
Yeah, I'm into chocolate.
You're into chocolate. So if we look at this chocolate, and there's 2 servings in here. 5 minus 11 is 6, right? So this is the dark chocolate. This is 85%. So you don't eat the whole bar because it's just so rich that if you ate the whole bar, you would have 12 grams of sugar here. That's it, right? But this one, which is almost the same thing, this one's 70%. This one actually has 19 grams in just one serving. So if you ate to eat the whole thing, it would be 30?
Over your limit for the day.
Exactly. So there are healthier options out there. You just go with the darker chocolate, but make sure when you're doing that, it doesn't have any other additive things in there like soy or anything like that in it. Yeah.
Cool.
So we could go on forever about this one too.
Well, like I said, the way that I'm actually looking at the labels now is huge. It makes a big difference. And everybody's like, well, I don't have all day when I go food shopping. Look at it actually doesn't take that much longer than you think.
No, definitely.
So awesome.
Yeah. Well,
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for all of this. And we'll be back. I'm sure Kate will be joining us again, and see you on 40 Plus Fitness.
Yeah.
What's up? Hey everybody, Sensei Randy here. Welcome back to 40 Plus Fitness, and we're into the recovery segment of our show today. And we're really excited to talk to you about some new technology that's out there. It's actually not new, it's been around for a while, but a lot of people haven't heard of it, and very few people have actually been able to find it and be able to experience it. So we're going to share it with you today, and it's called Cryo. And one of the things that's a result of nutrition, the way we eat, the way we live, the stress in our lives, and especially when we work out, if you've been watching any of these shows, it's inflammation. And so a big part of recovery is how to reduce inflammation. If we can reduce the inflammation, it helps the body get back into balance, it helps the body recover. The human body is an amazing machine. It will fix itself if you give it the tools to do it. And so we got this really cool system of checks and balances within our body. We just need to let it be able to do its thing. So we're going to give it a little help. And so in reducing inflammation, when you think of inflammation, you think of, a lot of times you think of like arthritis in your joints, and that's a great way to look at it for what we're talking about today. The soreness that you get, the tenderness from after you work out, you do a really good workout today, and then tomorrow you're a little sore. 2 days later, you're absolutely dragging. But we have a whole bunch of different ways that we can deal with the inflammation in our bodies from our workouts and the way we live. And one of those ways is with cryo. And cryo is a phenomenal technology. If you think about it, a lot of you have seen all the shows or movies, and they have the sports teams, the professional sports teams, and they have the ice baths. And they'll do the ice baths. They're like, some of them, depending on the show, it's like these big metal bathtubs, and they fill them up with water, and then they load them up with ice, and in goes the sports star, and they sit in those ice baths. If you've ever seen that and thought it was a cool thing to try, yes, I have. For some reason, I thought it would be cool. It's actually a lot more painful than they make it look. And there's a lot of different things with those ice baths that you have to watch for. The temperature of the water needs to be a certain level. You can only stay in a certain amount of time. It actually drops your body temperature because you're in the ice bath for a significant amount of time, so you got to watch your body temperature dropping. You end up with hypothermia. Even when I do short ice baths, I would tend to get very tired afterwards. It was very draining because it would put the body through kind of a trauma in order to reduce the heat and the inflammation in the body. So in researching the ice baths, I came upon the cryo. I actually saw it on a TV show I was watching, and one of the executives had a cryo thing in his office, and it got me interested in it, and I started looking, and it's funny, a lot of the professional sports teams, the football teams and the basketball teams have made the shift, and they're now putting cryochambers into their training rooms for their training staff. And the way cryo works, it does a similar thing. It drops the body temperature, which causes the body to respond in a few different ways. And we'll go into detail about that as well. But the reason the cryo is so good is it does it very quick. It's very, very intense. You're standing in a chamber, and they use liquid nitrogen to cool the air around you, and it drops it between 180 below to negative 230 degrees below zero. So it's because it's so cold that you're in there, you can get the same results in a much shorter time. Typically 2 to 3 minutes in a cryo chamber, like I said, between 180 and 230 degrees will be all you'll need for your treatment. So because of that, the body responds a lot faster. You don't have that long-term exposure to the cold. So when you come out, you actually feel energized. You don't feel drained. And again, because it's so short, you can go check out a place, go in, usually 10 minutes in and out the door, you can get a cryo treatment, and it does phenomenal things for you. And what it actually does, the cryo basically tricks the body into pulling and hyperoxygenating your blood. So when you get in the cold, and a lot of you are cringing when I say, minus 180 degrees, the temperature is negative 180 degrees. However, because it's the liquid nitrogen, it's very dry. So it's not like being outside on a winter day when it's 0 degrees and it's painful. Even after the 3 minutes, you don't really feel pain. in any of your joints from anything, you kind of feel them there, but it's not like a painful hurt. And what the body does is, in response to the intense cold, in order to protect the vital organs, the body's natural mechanism will pull blood from your extremities. So it'll draw blood from your hands, from your arms, from your legs, and pull it into the core of your body to keep your body warm. That allows your extremities, your joints, shoulders, elbows, wrists, knees, ankles, to get that cold in much quicker because the blood isn't competing against it, trying to warm it. And it also takes, and as it pulls all that blood into your core, it pumps that blood through your organs faster. So it actually helps filter out toxins and stuff from your organs. Do it at a much faster rate because it's pumping faster, and it actually pumps more oxygen into the blood to try to protect the organs a little more. And then when you come out of the cryo chamber, you get back into the warmth, you feel it rush back. So it actually warms the body back up, and now you have all this extremely oxygen-rich blood that's flowing through your body for a while. So it's really kind of a long-term, you get this good feeling. Your body feels energized, it feels strong. You'll notice the inflammation doesn't feel as bad. So it's a great tool that we can use to go in and actually reduce inflammation in our body. And I'm really excited. We're very lucky. We have a friend, Colin, that has a place, and he's one of the sponsors of our show. And he let us come in with our cameras and actually walk us through utilizing one of the cryo chambers. And he's going to actually allow me to go in the chamber, and he's going to explain what it does and how it works. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this segment. You get a lot out of it. You can go onto Google and just search cryo chambers in the southern New Hampshire area, and it'll give you a list. There are a couple places you can go and check them out. So if it sounds interesting and it sounds like something you'd be interested in trying, absolutely get online, try to find a spot and go and talk to them. If what we found is if the people are smart enough to know about the chambers and how to get them, then they're definitely people that'll hook you up and get you using the technology right. So anyway, I hope you enjoy this little trip we took, and I hope you got a lot out of this segment, and I hope you enjoyed this show. We'll see you next time.
So Randy is here and he's ready to go. Huh?
Yeah, I'm all set. I'm good. I'm excited.
So what we had him,
yeah,
exactly. Well, we're going to get that going for more here in a minute. But what we had Randy do is go down to his underwear. So women typically leave their bra and underwear on. We just want to make sure there's no wire in the bra for the women. And then he put on some of our socks, and then these snazzy booties here. And then he's got these gloves, and then I'm actually going to hand him another pair of gloves once he gets in the machine. So we really make sure that we keep those extremities very, very warm here. Another key that's really important is we want to make sure that you're dry when you head into the machine. Randy actually did take off his chain. We don't want anything that's going to apply too much cold or freeze while it's in the machine. So that's really important. And then I can go over some of the safety features as well of this machine in particular to keep it safe. But being dry is priority number one, so we can make sure everybody's safe when they're inside the machine. So, cool. All right, so from there here, I'm going to log in here with my my fingerprint here to get into the machine. So this machine does require both the operator, and then Randy here is going to come in and he's going to use his fingerprint to validate who he is. So now he's logged in, and once we get going there, now I get to set the settings of how cold we want to go. So we can actually set it down. Level 1's only negative 60 degrees, only I should say, but we can go down to like negative 180, negative 200, or even though it says negative 220, it actually gets down to about negative 230. So we're going to go for the full blown?
Sure, let's do it.
Yeah, all right, cool. So we're going to set it to that. We can do different times. Typically, most people will do the full 3 minutes, but it's really up to the end user here. And if they're new to it, maybe we won't go quite as long, but most people do go to 3 minutes here. The other thing you'll notice here is that we have the different sizes. So we have, as I open it up and I let Randy in here, go ahead and come on in. We're going to open it. He's going to pop in. Oops, excuse me, I need to drop this down. But we have different pads to make sure that it's at the appropriate height as he enters into the machine. So I'm going to now validate that his head's out of the machine. He looks good there, so now he's going to hand me the robe. And Sarah, thanks. We got somebody using compression here. All right, and then now I'm gonna hand him a pair of these gloves. He's gonna put those on, and then we're gonna be ready to roll. Ready to rock?
Ready to go.
All right. So we are underway. So what Randy's going to do when he's in there actually is he's going to rotate around a little bit, just because he can feel now that it's sprouting out from this corner over here. So we just kind of want to evenly distribute the cold. So we just kind of rotate a little bit here. Not so much that we get dizzy or anything, right? But we want to move around and get the increased circulation there. So yeah. So what's happening now is basically, we're applying this cold, and so our body is activated or going into the flight or fight response. And the machine makes me validate that everything's okay with Randy every 30 seconds, or it'll shut off. And that's just a safety mechanism there, so that we make sure we have an operator here and that everything's going on with whoever's inside the machine. But so once we've activated, or we will activate the fight or flight response, and all your blood is going to rush to your core to protect your major organs. And what that's going to do in return is it's going to naturally activate some adrenaline and some endorphins that can naturally help to heal the body. But then once Randy gets out here, so he's already a minute down, he's already at negative 230 degrees. How are we feeling?
Actually, it doesn't feel that cold.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's not like being outside in the winter.
Right, exactly. And I should explain what's generating this cold here. And if you see the pipe coming through, we have a very large nitrogen tank on the other side of this wall. And that's what's coming in and sprouting in to generate this cold temperature here. So now we're already approaching halfway here. We doing good?
Yeah.
Yeah? Now he's feeling a little bit, right? Yeah. And so obviously, Randy is making sure that he's keeping his head up and about, and he's not ingesting the nitrogen directly there, because that's can cause some lightheadedness and whatnot. So we really want to make sure, and that's again where we're making sure that the right appropriate height is set up with the pads and so forth, so he's in there. So how are we feeling?
I'm good.
Yeah? Good.
Getting a little cold.
Yeah, so we're already down to the final minute here. Taking it like a champ here. Yeah.
Minus 230.
And it's been at minus 230 for probably at least 2 of the minutes here. So that's legit. That's cold. But again, it's totally tolerable. He's doing fine. He could be feeling like a little bit of sensitivity on maybe his elbows or his knees a little bit.
In my elbows
Yeah.
and my knees.
Okay. Well, that's totally good. That's actually a good sign that your body's absorbing it quite well and should really benefit from it. So good. We're down to our last 30 seconds. We doing all right?
Feeling good.
Okay, cool. And so also just from a safety perspective, if Randy if we open the door at all, the machine would shut off, or I can have there's a valve here and another button I can push here to turn the machine off, because obviously safety is our top priority, and we want to make sure everybody's fine and safe when they're in the machine here. We're already at the final countdown. Randy is done. How we doing?
Oh,
Let's get him out of here.
Feeling it in the legs now.
Yeah, good. But once he's ready, I'll open it up. And really, what's happening now is really the process is just getting started. So now that all his blood has rushed to his core, now it's going to get back out to his extremities and so forth. So, all set?
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Look at that. Pops down. Feeling it? But he's going to warm up pretty quickly
it's all
here.
tingly now.
Yeah. But as the blood recirculates through, it's going to be increased proteins in there and can really help to reduce inflammation and increase energy with the adrenaline and the endorphins being activated, and just make you feel really good.
It's awesome. Definitely, I can definitely feel the adrenaline going and those endorphins kicking in. And I noticed, like, I've done ice baths before, and I noticed after the ice baths I get really groggy. Whereas after this, I don't
anything like
have
that.
any
right.
feeling like that. I feel like I'm going to be.
And you're probably already,
on
we've been
fire
out
already.
less than a minute, and you're probably already starting to warm up a bit, right?
Actually, yeah, my arms are feeling back to normal.
yeah.
My legs are still cold, but I can still feel them.
Yeah, and it's quick, really quick that most people warm right up and so forth.
Yeah, that's really cool. And a lot of what we talk about is, we look at health and fitness from 3 phases. We look at it from the exercise phase, which everybody knows about. We look at the nutrition phase, which a lot of people talk about.
Yeah.
But the recovery phase is what I really got into in the last year.
Good.
And I've never, it's funny, coming from a martial artist who you think would be stretching all the time, I haven't. And I know I haven't, and I know I need to do more of it, and people are looking at me right now going, yeah, you too. But
it's time consuming, right? It's hard, to stay on top of it day in and day out. And, we really need to invest in ourselves, right? To make sure that we feel good today, which is obviously great, but also in the long term, right? Actually, one thing I missed real quick with the photobiomodulation bed is also that can help with oxidative stress and free radicals, they're called. So like a lot of times, people haven't heard of those, but free radicals are very common to be found in people with cancer. So the photobiomodulation bed can eliminate oxidative stress and free radicals. So, really from a long-term perspective, both the cryo and the PBM and the other things we're doing can help with, longevity and just feeling good.
And that's a lot of when they talk about the, it's like the blueberries and all the superfruits.
Yep.
That's what goes after the free
amino
radicals.
acids exactly.
So same basic thing. That's
totally, yeah. But we're just doing it, in only 3 minutes, right? So now that Randy's been here and we got his fingerprint, he can literally be in and out of here in less than 10 minutes, right?
Which is great because in this day and age, everybody's running, everybody's going places.
Time, right?
We got to get in and out.
Yeah,
That's why I typically don't, or I didn't in the past. I'm better now, but I didn't in the past. I had a 2-hour block where I would go into the gym, and I would spend that time
doing
a
it
quick warm up, lifting, and then a quick cool down if I did it on the elliptical. Because you want to be lifting and moving. So that second piece didn't get it, and you have the injuries and
totally. So that's the thing too, really, if you want to get, whether it's stronger, faster, whatever it is, if you don't allow your body to recover and, reduce that inflammation ultimately to be able to get it back into a spot to perform better, you're not going to make the gains. You still make gains, it's going to either slow them down or potentially you're going to plateau because your body's just not going to be able to respond and handle that load if you're, not allowing it to get some recovery time.
Yeah, and it's funny as we dig more and more into a lot of this stuff, finding the power the brain has over what it allows your body to do even.
Oh, couldn't
if
agree
it's
more.
sensing something isn't in line, it's not going to let you. For example, like with the kicks going over your head, if your brain thinks you're going to hurt your hip, it's not going to let you do it, no matter how flexible you become. So really, really cool stuff. Thank you so much for letting us come in and hang.